no way anybody would have convinced me in the early years that I was at the proper weight or that I looked good. I was always very insecure. I always thought somebody was prettier than me and smarter than me and had more going than I did. And I really didn't get it, and that's the one good thing about maturity. When you finally fit into your own skin and you're not trying to fit into somebody else's skin, you really get there. And that's a lot about loving yourself. And I know growing up, that was not a popular thing in my household. That was egotistical to say that you did something well or that you thought well of yourself. That was a really funny thing in my household, so nobody ever talked about that. So I never had that kind of confidence about myself to know that who I was unique and no one else was exactly like me. I don't know if you could stand more like me, but that's how I felt. I really didn't understand that. So a little bit about my background. I grew up in Hollywood. I went to Hollywood High School. I was married 2 weeks before I graduated high school. And I went off with my husband. I did graduate, but we went off to live in Las Vegas, and I became a showgirl at the Flamingo Hotel for a short stint. And we decided to come back and start a family. So that's what we did. I became a stay-at-home mom. One day, I was 29 years old. One day, my husband went off on a business trip, and he never came back. He was killed in a private plane, and I never saw him again. And I had to get it together very quickly. There was no insurance, there was no money in the bank, and I had to get a job. I was very lucky about finding a job, and it really kept me in a very amazing place because I didn't have time to dwell on my situation. I had to take care of my family. I got a job in the screen industry, in the film industry, and I was working on all kinds of films. I even did a Star Trek. I think it was episode 59, the Paradise Syndrome, and I was a handmaiden, an Indian handmaiden, and when I look at the picture now, I was offering Captain Kirk a bowl of fruit. So, who would have known? And I played in everything in the late 60s, early 70s that you can imagine, from Dynasty and all those shows. And one day, I was on one of the sets, and a producer came in and said someone told him there was someone that on the set that looked exactly like the woman actress that he was writing a sitcom for. And he asked if I'd like to meet her, and the next thing I found myself in the home of Mary Tyler Moore. And she hired me on the spot, and I was her stand-in and assistant, and then shortly started to create the look for Valerie Harper, who played Rhoda. Some of you might remember, and some of you are saying, who is that, because you're too young to remember. But I created that scarf look that she wore that she became so famous for. And it was really fun designing those clothes because today I see them everywhere. There's kind of those hippie scarves and things I put together. I wish I would have kept all those clothes because they're selling back there for a high price. It would have been great to have them. So from the film industry, one day I was out as Mary's assistant picking up lunch for her, and I picked up some roast beef that she asked me to get, and I got a little bit for myself, and driving home in the car, I was very hungry, I hadn't had breakfast, I opened up a little package of roast beef for myself and took a bite. And the next thing you know, I thought I took a bite out of the back of my hand. It was flesh, and I looked at my hand, and it wasn't my hand, it was that roast beef. It was my first connection to eating animals, that it was flesh. And it so shocked me. I drove back to the studio in kind of a haze. And I think a lot of this happened because I started meditating about a year before. And when I was 30, I started meditating. And I think meditation puts you in touch with everything living, including your inner self, including everything. You know everything is interconnected. And so I'm sure somehow animals and this feeling of eating flesh came to me because I was more sensitive to this. So I went home and told my children we were not having meat anymore. We were now called vegetarians. There weren't many around. There was like one health food store, and I think I bought Adele Davis's book at the time, and it was all I could find to find out about this kind of food. But I still fixed this food to the best of my ability. Obviously, not the best. I always thought rice and beans make a perfect protein. I was doing everything that I thought to feed my children well. We still ate cheese. I never understood how connected that is to the cruelty of animals. It took me some time to realize, so I was on and off of being vegan and vegetarian, back to vegan, and when I really got how cheese is produced, I was finished. That was it. I don't want to eat that because it's really harmful to the animals. Most of you probably know that, so I won't have to tell the gory details. The thing I have found since I went raw, which happened, I was 69, and I went to my doctor's for a checkup, general checkup, and I thought I ate well. I was in very good health, and I never thought anything was wrong with me. Checked my blood pressure, it was high, my cholesterol was high, and I actually did start to feel these little arthritic pains in my joints and my knees and fingers, hands. And he gave me a prescription and sent me home, and I knew when I had that prescription on my purse, I was not going to fill it. I had to get on top of it because I know food is medicine. I've always thought that.
That's right.
So I went home and started Googling everything, my favorite thing, Google. I love Google. To find out anything right in my bed in the morning when I wake up that I thought of during the night. It's spectacular. And I Googled everything I could, and raw food kept coming up, and raw food kept coming up. And I had it one time, and I didn't like it. I ate it at a very nice restaurant in Santa Monica, and I went and had a Haagen-Dazs afterwards. I really didn't like the taste of raw food. So now I've decided I'm going to try what's a detox. And this detox was pretty easy to do. It was juicing, it was salads, and no oils or fats. And I thought I could handle that. I've done water fasts, I've done spirulina fasts, I've done a lot of fasts. But this sounded just right for me. And I called my daughter, and she said she would do it with me. A week after I started this detox, I swear I thought my teeth got whiter. I just felt amazing in 1 week. And I was about 22 pounds up on my weight because I had met my boyfriend and been cooking for him all the foods he liked and eating along with him, and we both gained weight. So I was, making food that was like gigantic amounts, like I was cooking for all of you. And we were finishing that up. So I lost a little weight that week, and I thought, well, maybe I do feel better. I went on this for another week, and that was it. I was a raw foodist from then on, and that's when I was 69. So now I'm about 3 weeks away from my 70th birthday, and I'm on Facebook, which I joined Facebook to kind of follow my granddaughters, my grandkids, and I have about 100 family and friends on Facebook, and I could see what they were doing, so I was really happy to be able to do that. But on the right-hand side, where they have all this advertisement, it said they're looking for the sexiest vegetarian over 50, and it was PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And I thought, I'm going to fill out that form. I didn't tell my boyfriend, I didn't tell my kids, I just filled out the form and I sent in a picture, and about a week later I get an email, can you send us proof of your age? No one's asked for my ID in a long time, so that was really great.
That was flattering.
So I sent in ID, I sent in a passport and my driver's license, which was great. And they said okay, and then they asked me to fill out some more stuff, and then I got a phone call. It was on speakerphone. I thought, oh, maybe they're considering me for one of the 10 finalists. Well, that's what it was. I was one of the 10 finalists, and I ended up winning this contest, this nationwide contest. And what really surprised me is that the women in the contest over 50, they were in their early 50s, they were young enough to be my daughter. So I think I won because of my age, really. I think people saw somebody looking healthy. Well, the interesting thing is PETA told me that press would be getting in touch with me, and not to mention I was raw, because they thought that was too harsh for people. They thought vegetarian was enough. Don't mention vegan, if you would please, and don't mention raw, if you would please. So I got, some interviews in our local paper, and then the media started calling and coming to the door, and I was on national television, the doctors, and I still was asked not to mention raw, but I kept saying I have a green drink every morning, so all the raw people knew I was raw. I had people email me saying, we know you're raw, so that was great. So I was very careful for a long time not to say anything about raw. And then finally, after this popularity kind of wore off and I created my own, then I started mentioning that I was a raw foodist. And I do believe green drinks are superior to anything I've ever done. I can talk to all of you about food, which I'm going to, because how many of you like to eat? All right. Well, sometimes people think when you're a raw foodist, you're not supposed to eat. Everybody's got their own ideas and everybody's right for themselves. If someone says don't eat dates because you're not supposed to eat sugar, well, if you have cancer and a serious disease, I would say the same thing. But most of us are trying to transition to change our diets and eat healthy. And if everything is restrictive for you, and you can't have this and you can't have that, and you're hungry all the time, guess what? You're not going to stay on the raw food path, and you're going to feel guilty. Like someone told me, someone mentioned going off the wagon. Well, what wagon? I mean, this is the way you eat because you want to. So if you eat something and you feel it isn't right for your body, you don't eat that again. If you gluten intolerance and you're eating, once you're a raw food person and then you decide that you're going to have a piece of bread, it's not going to feel so good, so you don't do it again. But you can't beat yourself up. This is about loving yourself and having a good time. People email me all the time and they ask me if they can have wine. Well, have a glass of wine if you want a glass of wine. Don't have 2 bottles of wine. You want coffee? Well, I don't drink coffee, but you want coffee? Have a cup of coffee. I'm not here to tell people what to eat and what not to eat. What I am hoping to do, and actually that's why I wrote my book, Live Raw. In case you don't know, I have a book called Live Raw, and it came out in June, and it's raw food recipes. He's holding one up right there. Thank you. There's another one. I am trying to show you that you can replace gluten pasta with a wonderful zucchini pasta that you can serve to any guest and they'll love it. I'm trying to tell you can make the most beautiful lasagna that you've ever tasted and serve it to the biggest gourmet ever. In fact, I had that experience this last August. A very good friend of my boyfriend Mike and myself is Robin Leach from The Rich and the Famous. Well, this man has eaten food all over the world from the best chefs. We've traveled with him to Italy. Everywhere we go, they're bringing everything, you know, eye of newt, you know, whatever the guy wants to eat, you know, he gets it. So I've invited him over to have a raw food dinner, and he was very excited. And I was so nervous, I can't tell you. And I told him I was nervous. He said, why? And I said, you've eaten food from the best chefs in the world, and I'm going to fix you something that's kind of different. He's had vegan food. In fact, it's very wonderful if you don't know that the Wynn Hotel and the Encore Hotel, Steve Wynn, who owns those hotels in Las Vegas, he has hired a vegan chef. You can go there and actually have vegan food in a major hotel. I think this is astonishingly wonderful. And yeah, and Robin was at a vegan meal, but I tried to explain this is a little different. Vegan is very easy to do. Raw definitely is a little more challenging. You have to learn a few more tricks. Because if you're not heating food, how do you get that feeling that you're used to with good food that you like? Anyway, I started out with my Caesar salad. I use capers instead of anchovies for that salty taste. I use cashews to make my Parmesan cheese. It's in my book, and I also have a lot of YouTube videos out. If you haven't seen them, I give you all kinds of instructions very quickly for lots of dishes, and you can go to my website and actually get the recipes there. So aside from my book, you'll see all my recipes out on my Facebook pages. So I started out with the Caesar salad, and he said, how did you make this? So there was the conversation. His son, who's also a gourmet chef and a foodie for sure, he loved the food, and I proceeded to have many courses, many courses, individual lasagnas and beautiful little vegetables that were dehydrated. I know Robert loves ice cream, so I had 4 or 5 different flavors of ice cream. I also took him in the kitchen and showed him I took a frozen banana out of the freezer, put it through my Omega juicer, and he had banana ice cream. He couldn't believe it. He went home, he bought a juicer, he bought himself and his kids, he bought them all for Christmas, he told me, a juicer and an ice cream maker that they could, you know, one that they can make the banana ice cream with. So he was really somebody I was very excited about turning on to a new way of eating. He went back home and he said he was going to eat, and I don't know how it is now, but he was going to have green juice delivered, and he was going to eat vegan from Monday to Thursday, and then do what he wants. Fantastic. I mean, that's fantastic. You can set up anything you like. You're going to eat raw once a week, prepare for it. The other thing is, if you do not have enough food in the house, guess what? You're not going to stay on this diet. You're going to be hungry. You're going to fix food for someone else in your family, and there's no food for you. You do have to spend a little time. But the time you spend now will be less time you spend at the doctor's office later. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
And I know that for experience, and it's not all genes, because I have 2 sisters that are still living. I'm the youngest of 7, but there's just 3 of us. Both my sisters have had cancer. One's 2.5 years older than me, the other is 87. They've had cancer. They both take a line of pills that you wouldn't believe. Overweight, one of my sisters, and they're not healthy like I am. It's because I've paid attention. So I'm telling you, from my experience, it's not all genes. My family's had heart trouble, they've had diabetes, they've had cancer, they've had Parkinson's, there's a whole leukemia, there's a whole host of things that my family has had that I am experimenting on to resist. And so far, so good. Now, I'm a baby next to Bernardo. When I saw him yesterday, any of you missed him, he's 110 years old, and he's quite amazing. And my favorite line of the day, of the show, is when he said he's going to open up a restaurant next year. I think that's just amazing. And the secret to that is not just that he said that, but it's when you get older, you need to have passion about something, and you need to look to the future. And I saw this recently, again going back to my sister. Mike and I were out looking to move her from a senior care home up north to closer to the family in Southern California. And we went to 5 or 6 senior homes. There were people younger than me there with walkers. They were hunched over, they were overweight. I knew they were my age and younger. It really woke me up. If any of you are having a hard time staying on a raw food diet, or just eating a healthy diet with lots of raw food, if that's your choice, go visit a senior home. You will really wake up very quickly. This is very important. Well, we got my sister moved, and she's very happy with that. And we went and looked at all the food in the restaurants at all these places. Holy cow, just like hospitals, forget it. It's like they're killing these people instead of trying to keep them younger. My sister will not eat a green salad, my one sister. The other one eats a teeny green salad. So I really say this experiment that I'm having with myself is really showing me a lot when I look at the rest of my family. So I think that food is very important. My refrigerator is full of food most of the time. My countertops are full of food most of the time. I try to spend 1 day a week or 1 day every 2 weeks where I make all my breads, my crackers, anything I need to dehydrate. I try to do that all at once. And then I can have my little veggie patties anytime during the week that I want, between a Savoy cabbage leaf with tomato and avocado and onion and capers and homemade hummus, anything I want, I can just throw that together. I can roll it in a nori sheet. So I love to eat. I'm sorry, what can I say? I think there are a lot of raw foodists. I don't mean to insult anybody because everyone's doing their best, but I think there are a lot of people who have food disorders that find raw food a very appealing way to eat because they can juice all the time and not eat, and at least they're getting their nutrients. But I think we're meant to eat. I think we need vitamin A, D, B, C, F, G, whatever the hell it is. We need that to feed these little cells in there. We really do. And if you're not eating, so you don't go and eat for a few days, fine. But how long? You want to do a 15-day fast for who? For what? Eat the right food, the pure food, and all of that food is going to nourish those little cells. It's just like they're like little mechanics inside you. It's like taking care of your car. You know, you change your tires, you give it the best gas or the oil. You have to do that to your body. Your car is not going to run if you don't put fuel in it. Your body is not going to run unless you're eating. So don't be worried about eating. You can eat a salad as big as a boat and you're going to be fine. If you're hungry, eat a lot, eat the good foods. Eventually, you'll die. Your body will tell you when you're hungry and you're not hungry. There'll be days when you aren't hungry and you can go all day without eating something. And some days you want to do that. But you have to understand, you need to nourish your body. The earlier you start, the better it will be. Now, I have these lines on my face. So what? I feel young inside. I feel great. You're going to get lines. I come from this background of the film industry, plastic surgery, Botox, Restylane, all these things. We don't know how good they are for us. We don't know. I have some friends who get too much of it, and you can see, they don't see it. They see no lines and they're happy. But the fact is that this doesn't move anymore. I don't know how good that is, I really don't. And I know we all want to look good. Believe me, I have blonde hair, so I don't have gray hair. It's long because it's not what normal older people do. So I dress from Forever 21. I'd like to open up a Forever 41, but that's not happening. But really, it's really not how, I like to look good like anyone else. I really do. I enjoy dressing up and looking good. And my grandkids love to see me when I put on clothes that they would wear. And I don't try to dress young. I dress how I feel. But really, it would be nice if I didn't have this or this. Recently, I was on the cover of Get Fresh magazine, a UK magazine. And I sent off the photo of me to them. I didn't know I was going to be on the cover. Now I'm blown up on the cover with that almost starting chicken neck and these lines here and down on my face. And I looked at that thing and I said, oh my God, I'm the only one on the cover of a magazine who looks like this. Everybody else is airbrushed out. And at first it was like, oh no. But then I started to love it, thinking to myself, hello, here's somebody who's actually real. We know everything is airbrushed. To hell with it. Why do we all think we have to look that way? That's just absurd. Allow yourself to be who you are. Take really good care of yourself. Do not diet. Diets don't work. They make you crazy. You feel restricted. You feel like you have no food. You feel like something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with your body. Forget about it. Eat healthy. If you eat healthy, you start to love yourself for putting good food in your mouth. Not because you're heavy set or you need to lose some weight. You're eating because you want it, because you love yourself and you want to take care of yourself. Overweight people don't understand that. They just keep trying to diet, and that just doesn't work. They lose it, then they put it back. Then they get their stomachs tied. It's just like whatever they do, they're not going to be happy with themselves. So you have to find peace within yourself, and I think that's a really big thing. You have to find peace with aging. You have to do your best that you can, and that's all you can do. And stop beating yourself up. If you eat something, or you have a glass of wine, or you have a cup of coffee, or you take a bite of somebody's food that is not on your list of stuff to do, big deal, who cares? You're doing this for yourself, not for anyone else. No one cares if you got off the wagon, as they say. You just have to eat the food that you think is good for you. And I think our mind plays a big part in this. I could take you through, I was going to do a little exercise, but I just decided all these notes I wrote here, because I'm really not accustomed to public speaking. Someone told me when you get up in front of a crowd, if you're nervous, just imagine everyone naked. And I want to tell you, you're all looking really good today. Especially you. That's my boyfriend. So I put my notes aside, but I was going to take you through, I'm just going to talk about this. I was going to take you through a closed eye thing, but I think it's kind of hard when there's noise around the room. But I want you to know that your mind can take you from being a child to being an adult. You can go anywhere you want. This is what does it. You can take a year to transition, or 10 years to transition, or you can do it in a day, in a minute. It's really up to your mind. So you know that you have the power of that. We don't have much control over a lot of things in this world. Even our food, our GMO food, we're really in a tight spot. Do the best you can. Try to eat organic, buy from the farmers markets, grow your own, sprout. You know, sprouting is spectacular because it's fresh, it's in your kitchen. You know what's there. I heard a really great thing back there in that food corner when I was standing just looking at that great food. And someone asked the man back there if he had kombucha. He said, I don't do kombucha. And they were so surprised. He said, I only have food that grew from a seed. I mean, that really blew me away. I thought that was spectacular, really, really spectacular. Only if it's grown from a seed. He said, mushrooms are fungus. You don't want to have something like that. A lot of people have kombucha. I love kombucha. I make kombucha. So I have kombucha. That works for me. But I do love the idea, everything from a seed. And you go to the grocery store. When I grew up in a place in Hollywood There was the farmer's market. It was an indoor market, but the whole front of the store, it was on Vine Street, the whole front of the store was all open fruit stand. It was really pretty spectacular. It's all I knew as a little girl. And the packaged food was in a tiny little section in the back of the store. It was a normal market, but they didn't have that much packaged food when I grew up. I remember when TV dinners started, and my mother decided after cooking fresh food for us, she was going to sit us in front of the TV on those little trays and put that little thing with the little sections in it. We thought that was really cool, to have those little sections where your dessert and your other food was. I can't even imagine what you could get from eating food like that, because I'm sure there's no nutrients in it. So my mother switched from fresh food to that and canned and frozen, because it was easier. It was there. It was much easier. And I think a lot of people fix food that way because we are busy people. We really are. We work, we have lives. I have a company I run for over 10 years, a cowgirl company. I invented a board game for women called Cowgirls Ride the Trail of Truth. It's kind of a gal's night out where you're answering personal questions about yourself. And it's been on the market since 1998, and I have a whole host of other cowgirl products that have a lot of humor to it. Cowgirl riding a horse, and it says on it, "Does this saddle make me look fat?" So it's all pretty funny. A line of Western old vintage rodeo ladies. Underneath it says, "Feeling lucky, cowboy." So it's a great line, and I actually sold it to retire about 2.5 years ago, and the woman who bought it got cancer, and I had to take the company back, buy the company back. So I'm operating the company after a 2-year break. And in the meantime, my books keep me very busy, and my thousands of Facebook fans keep me busy because I'm answering all the time. I've told a couple, my greatest lessons this weekend so far has been from all the people I've met on the floor, not up on the stage, which I think they're all pretty fantastic up here, but it's all of you I've talked to in the ladies' room or around this hall where I learned the most from. And actually, that's what encouraged me to change my talk in some way and just talk to you from my heart, which I wrote from my heart, but it just makes it easier to tell you what I'm feeling in the moment. I'm more spontaneous, so I thought that would be a better thing. But I learned so much from people that are here, and I told this story to somebody that I got a message from a mother who said her 9-year-old daughter just came back from visiting her father for the weekend. And this little girl had decided to become a vegetarian, and her father just berated her so much and made her eat meat. And she came home so upset and depressed. 9 years old, wanted to be a vegetarian because she didn't want to eat animals, and she was really feeling awful. Her mother could not get her out of the mood. She went to her room and just stayed there. So she showed her one of my videos, and the little girl sat up in bed. She perked up a little bit. So she showed her some more of my videos, and the next thing you know, she said her daughter was late into the night watching all my little YouTube videos, and it cheered her up. So she said she wanted to buy her a book for Christmas if I would autograph it to her and say something nice, that I think it's great that she's a vegetarian, so she thinks it's okay. So I wrote her a whole thing in the book and sent it off. And I was so happy when Mike showed me in the afternoon, Christmas Day, her mother took a video of her opening up the book. And you can see it on one of my Facebook pages, my fan page or my other pages. Here's this 9-year-old girl sitting under the Christmas tree, tearing off the paper, and she said, "Mimi, Kirk's book is here!" She was so excited. And then she read the inscription, and she was so happy. She was reading all the pages and looking through it. And later that day, I got a message from her, and she said, "There's so many things in here I want to make." And then the next day I get a message, she had made one of the drinks, the smoothies, and she made another one. And then this morning, before I came here, she'd emailed me again, and she said, "I'm getting tired of eating fruit for breakfast. Can you tell me some other things I can fix for me and my baby brother and my mother?" So here's the future speaker of the world, a 9-year-old girl who somehow has this special thing in her that she gets this very early on, not to eat animals. And I'm finding that for a lot of young people today who are vegetarians, very young, that have decided they don't want to eat meat anymore. And that's a personal preference. I know people who eat raw meat. That's a personal preference. I have no judgment over anybody's style of eating. All I know is I've been a foodie since I'm 18, when I learned what good food tastes like. My mother was a mediocre cook. My husband at the time took me to a French restaurant in Chicago. It was the first meal I ever had where they fixed food at the table. and made this amazing thing that was flaming desserts and everything else. I went out and bought all these cookbooks, and from then on, I loved cooking. I think it's an art. And I think raw food really is an art because you have to create so differently and what makes things stick together and taste good. So raw food really is an art. And I love being in the kitchen and being an artist in the kitchen. Mike puts on some great world music for me, and I just have a great time fixing everything. But food, again, is important, and I really would love to see all of you being able to enjoy a meal and have guests over and feel really good about fixing something for them. A full-on dinner, just like you normally would, whatever you want to start with, a salad of some kind, a main dish, some side dish, and then a fabulous dessert. I'm sure you've all had those raw cheesecakes or something else. These are treats. I don't eat those all the time, but I make fantastic desserts. I love raw chocolate. Some people say raw chocolate's not good. For me, it makes me feel like I'm 12. I like it. I'm happy to have raw chocolate. And there's a lot of good food coming out on the market all the time. You can get them on the websites. You can buy food if you don't want to make some things. And there are raw food restaurants popping up everywhere. I mean, it's really pretty spectacular to see how many there are around. But let's say you don't have a raw food restaurant near you, and you're worried about going out to eat with friends, or you're worrying about travel. Well, I eat sometimes before I go. Sometimes I have a salad. Please leave off the chicken and put avocado on. Put the dressing on the side, or give me some olive oil and vinegar, whatever, lemon. I sometimes, I can go to a Mexican restaurant. I'll have some slices of avocado on a salad. I go to Thai food. I ask them to just give me all the raw vegetables and put a sauce on the side that if I want to use it, I could. And they go, raw? Can we cook them? Can we walk them for you? And no, just a plate of that. I've had around the world some of the most magnificent plates full of food because I asked the chef to do something special. I try not to make a big deal, but I just tell them I eat food that's not cooked, and that's about it. And when I go out with friends, it's a salad, so what? So you're not having the big meal. You're going to be much better off, and you're going to feel great all night, and they're going to be like, not feeling so good. I've eaten some cooked food since I've been raw. I'll have a sweet potato on occasion, or an artichoke. Love that artichoke. And I have it with a little olive oil and some homemade mustard for my sauce on it. And I love a cooked artichoke. So, big deal. Does that mean I'm not all raw? I don't know what anybody would say about it, but for me, it's fine. I still consider myself all raw. I use nutritional yeast, not raw. Big deal. I'm still all raw, because that's the way I eat 99-point-something% of the time. So if I want to have something else occasionally, I think that's fine. Please eat. Prepare, have enough food in the house, have your cupboards full, clean out anything that's not good for you in your house and redo your kitchen. I have one video, I don't know how many times it's been viewed, but everybody wanted to look inside my refrigerator. So I did a video that you could see inside my refrigerator. I have these plastic containers with red lids that I bought at like a Kmart or one of those places, CVS Pharmacy. They sell them at, a lot of places. I line it with paper towel because I don't want my food against the plastic. I think it's fine. I line it with paper towel. I bring everything home from the farmer's market. I put it in those containers. I do not wash them. I put them in exactly the way they are because I'm sure a lot of you know how much food gets spoiled if you don't store it properly. It's just like a big waste, and we all hate that. I mean, you compost it, but it's still a lot of money when you're buying organic that you're wasting. So put it in these little containers, put paper towel on top, and I cut my celery in half, and I put those in there, just cut them in half. I don't take it off the stalk or anything. I have a big bowl that I put next to my juicer, and I go take those plastic stacks out, and I throw what I need, my apples, my celery, my cucumber, my spinach, whatever else I'm putting in my drink, into the pure water, and then those containers go back in the refrigerator. It's very easy. It's right next to the sink. There's all my drink stuff being washed. I juice everything, and then Mike likes drinks a little sweeter sometimes, so I throw them into the blender after I juice it, that liquid, and I'll add a banana, or I'll add berries or a mango, something fresh and seasoned for him. And that makes a really delicious smoothie for anybody. We have people coming to our house for like a weekend, and they think it's like a spa. People are asking us if we can take people in our house for weekend retreats. We take them hiking, I fix all this great food, I teach people how to cook, and that's all they need to do is to see a demonstration a couple times and they get it. It's so much easier when someone shows you than when reading a cookbook. So I really recommend that you listen to your inner voice.